Good morning, gentlemen. It's been a while. Andrew, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. No, we haven't recorded. I don't remember the last time we recorded. This is so bad. But I'm good. Yeah, I'm just kind of plowing through the summer. School
We
holidays,
did
school
take a little, yeah,
vacations.
little
It's a bit. It's yeah,
hiatus,
yeah. It's a bit later
little
in the UK than it
hiatus.
is for you guys over there. So we're now we're at the start of our vacation period now. So I'm just kind of I'm wound down basically. I'm wound down. I'm just chilled. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't wait until September, until, the summer was officially over to chat with you. And of course, my friend, my neighbor, Jay Daughtry is, I mean, we need to talk to him. I can't go without podcasting with you. I can't go without hearing from Jay. So just a little snack, a little summer treat for everyone before we get back on schedule in September. So Jay, welcome back. Is this your third time? Are you a third time guest?
Third time
You
ever
might be.
incredible, but
He,
thank
he might be the only third time guest, but
you.
it's timely. I mean, we needed to chat. Big things are upon us, and while Andrew is winding up or down or whatever he does, I know at least you and I are getting ready for ASAE Annual.
Absolutely. It's just it's right around the corner now.
Now I've seen you on Collaborate. I've seen you kind of start asking and checking. And last year you did a really cool thing. You did a prep or a preview for the meeting, for the city, for the activities. How did that go over? Where did that start? Since that was your first one, what brought that about and what result did you get from it? That was in LA, right? 2025 was in
Yeah,
LA.
right.
Okay.
2025 was in LA. Actually, I've been doing this for several years. There's two differences. One, this used to be just a LinkedIn like article for me years ago, and then I started doing it under the Fontiva and ProTech umbrella. Last year, where it was different was I solicited feedback from multiple people to get their input for what they were looking forward to at the conference. And that went over so well that we're doing that again for 2026.
It's great. So what feedback, I mean, how did last time around, how did that help people? What was the main takeaway from that? The best parties, the best places to park, what to wear? What
I,
was the aha?
okay, you're not going to get fashion advice from me, but it really is, to me, it's about the city itself. It's about the venues or the events or activities that are sort of after hours or other times. It's about the individual sessions. It's about what's happening in the expo hall. It's kind of all of that. And I think what's interesting to me is for people who have never attended at all, or even if you attended a couple of times, just getting a lay of the land. Like what I always tell people is like, look, it's going to be different because it's a different city, but there's a certain cadence, if you will, to the way ASAE Annual runs Saturday through Tuesday, right? There's certain events that we know are happening, certain times of day, or certain things are happening. So I think all of that provides a really good framework. And I'll say this as well. I write this guide and with the input of others write this guide, but I use it during the conference. I pull it out like, what did I say about this? Or what did others say? Or what should I be doing now? It's really helpful. I love it.
So have we learned enough? And between our experiences, have we learned enough to talk Andrew into coming? That's the question. I mean,
I
not that
mean,
and
absolutely. I will say this, like, again, and I'll put it in Andrew's language because they always talk about it being the Super Bowl of associations, right? But it's like the Premier League championship, Andrew. You got to be there. It's the event of the year. And I start looking at this schedule in June. I don't know how many people look at it in June, but I'm excited. I'm preparing for my guide that I put together. I'm thinking about it for weeks in advance. My schedule runs around it, and I won't miss it. I don't miss it.
I will admit I've missed the last few years. I think my last was Atlanta. I'm a CAE. Sometimes I look to see if I need hours that year or where it's going to be. I am excited about Indianapolis because it's an accessible, affordable city. I did hear some not great things about LA and kind of the logistics of that. So I'm excited to come back to a small metro, one that I hope kind of rolls out the red carpet for us. Andrew, have you ever been to an ASAE annual?
No, well, no, I haven't. The only time I've ever actually spoken at an ASE was that year we did it all online. So what was that, 2020 was it, or 21? I can't remember.
Yeah, we
Uh,
did some virtual sessions.
yeah, I've thought about it several times. I have. I do. I think about it every year. But it's yeah, and I do want to go. And I hear what you're saying, Jay, about the Super Bowl or the Premier League. I guess for me, it is still. I mean, look, let's be honest. It's still a hugely US centric program. So for me, it's as much about making sure that there's enough content that's got a sort of enough of a global, um, speaks a global language, that there's enough resonance with me that actually I'm going to learn something that I can take back to either my domestic market, or I can work with colleagues across continental Europe, or wherever. So yeah, and actually it's interesting because I think the same every year about the EASE conference as well, the European Association Society, which have the conference in Brussels every year, which is a far closer prospect for me to a 2 hour train ride versus a 10 hour flight or whatever. So it's but I do want to. I won't. I'm not promising you I'll be there this year, Lise. I'm not going to promise you that,
Uh,
because I mean, in fact, I think I got to be honest. This year when you're all in Indianapolis, my daughter and I are going to be in a Disney cruise. So so
Actually, it is nice when you're not the one going. That is a much quieter week of
oh
business when you
yeah,
can kind of
yeah.
get caught up when everyone else is at ASAE.
Hmm.
All right, well, maybe we can put a pin in. Jay, do you know where 2027 is going to be? I know they've got the next 5 years scheduled.
Yeah. 2027 is in Charlotte. I lived in Charlotte, as I referenced in this new guide. I lived there in the 1900s for 4 years. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to a town that I know really well for that one.
All right, well then let's get into Indianapolis. We may not see Andrew. We may have to incentivize him to come to Charlotte. What is going to be different or special, do you think, based on the schedule or the venues about 2026?
Yeah, I think you alluded to it already, Elisa. Essentially Indianapolis is rolling out the red carpet. This is a big deal for them, for us to be there. And so I'll just mention two things. One, the classic, which is on Monday nights always, and it has an extra fee to it, right? It's not an inexpensive event, but it is a fundraiser for the ASAE Foundation. But it's at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which I could not be more excited about checking out that venue and experiencing that. So that's one. Then the closing ceremony used to be on Tuesday nights, at least starting last year. It's moved to afternoons, and it continues this year. It's at Lucas Oil Stadium, which is where the Indianapolis Colts of the NFL play their game. So again, it's a chance to check out the stadium. I know you mentioned being in Atlanta, so we did that with the Falcons Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think it's called. We did that a few years ago as well. So those are two really big highlights to look forward to in Indianapolis as part of the schedule.
Now, what you mentioned the extra fee, and I know the classic is a fundraiser as well. What does that run? I've never taken part in that, but the venues have always been the best draws. I know Atlanta was at the aquarium, and that's where they really saved the special venue for. What is the cost of that this year?
Yeah, so I will say this, the VIP part of that, which is, I think you get extra perks, but it's also a longer period of time. That's already sold out. The standard ticket or whatever they call it is $175. And if I'm saying this right, I believe it's just for an hour and a half. So it's not inexpensive, but I went ahead and got my ticket. I was a little nervous that they'd sell out on that one as well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of costs, I don't know how that has changed over time, but the registration amount has grown over the last few years. And we know events cost more to run. We probably know that better than a lot of membership constituencies. But this is, I think it's over $1,200 now for registration for this, 4-day event where I'm still having to pay for hotel and flight. What content is going to make all of that cost worth it?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. And again, that's where you'd want to take a look at my guide and look at what the sessions are that I'm recommending, that others are recommending. But I mean, they've got great keynote speakers. They've got, I can't remember the term, but they've got smaller sessions on the main stage that are not keynotes, but those are really, really good ones as well. They bring in really top people. I will add this really quickly. I am participating as an Ignite speaker this week, or during the conference, I should say. And I'd be glad to describe to you what that is. But I do get a reduced speaker rate for doing that. So that's another way to sort of beat some of the pricing
Yeah.
along those lines.
I know that ASAE's worked really hard to, well, how can you not put 10 sessions at the same time? There's a great deal of competition for content at every hour throughout the day. How do you recommend a person approach navigating that schedule? You're making
Yeah, I think.
recommendations, but is it based on their subject matter expertise? Is it based on the speakers? How do you navigate such a dense agenda?
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have, right? I mean, typically what I would say, and even in this guide, you'll see there are time frames where there are 2 or 3 sessions mentioned, of those 10 or 12 or whatever it is. I would generally try to have 2 or 3 in my pocket for a given time for any number of reasons, right? A room could be full, you show up and it's not quite what you expected, so you want to switch rooms. They have cancellations at the last minute, right? Like sickness or something's come up, people can't be there. So having 2 or 3 for each time slot is a good way to go about doing it. Along the lines of how you should approach it, like generally, I just go with the ones that just appeal to me the most at the moment, but I try not to overload it in any given category, if you will. I would go to something that's outside your area of specialty, outside of your daily responsibilities. Learn something new. You're probably going to meet different people than you would if you just stick to a track, if you will. So I hope that helps, but glad to talk about anything else along those lines
Yeah,
too.
I see Andrew grimacing, and it's going to be dense. It's going to be a lot of people you don't know, some you do know. I know we're all kind of getting back into the swing of human interaction, and the real return on this cost and this time is who we meet, connections we make, of course, what we learn. But that human piece is something I know all of us in our solopreneurship we don't get a lot of. I'm excited to see people. How big is this venue? And Andrew, what's the last big meeting you've gone to, and how do you get the most out of it?
God, the last big meeting I went to. Oh my God, I can't remember the last meeting I went to actually. God, isn't that terrible? Isn't that awful? I can't. It's that long
It
ago.
is.
That is terrible.
You,
But it's interesting. I was looking. Jay, you were saying you're speaking in the Ignite session, and I really love that concept. I really love that concept. You're you can't, I love that you don't have any control in terms of your slides are going and that's it. You either keep up and the audience keeps up, or we begin to drift. And I really like that because I really like the focus. I really like how that brings good energy to the piece. I think how and for me, yeah, I've been in a lot of meetings, a lot of conferences where I've sat and thought, oh my God, when is this pain ever going to end? One time, no names mentioned, I watched a keynote from the guy who was working from the Mars project from the European Space Agency. He was the single most boring session I've ever been to, and it should
you
have
said
been.
no names. You said no names.
I didn't
You just
mention his
totally
name.
described
I didn't
him.
mention his name. I saw it. Whatever. But and I think it's so easy to stumble into sessions where you think, wow, this, it's written, it's presented, you think this is going to be amazing. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn something incredible. I'm going to see behind the scenes and look under the hood. But actually, in that session, it was just like a 60-minute monotone of nothingness. Actually, for me, I love the energy that concept of that Ignite session brings. I really do. And for me, that would definitely be a highlight. Rocking up and seeing you and your peers speaking at that would be amazing.
It's great. So, Andrew, any tips for introverts? Introverts handling these type of big conferences.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because it just it just strikes fear into my heart actually. Having to walk into rooms and shake hands and introduce myself and a room full of thousands of people that I don't know. And I can't help but bring that main character energy to the space, obviously, because it's all about me. But I like those. I like those badges. Have you seen meet? I don't know if ASAE does it at the moment. You can get those like energy badges. You wear it, on your lapel, and it just says what your mood is, how you're feeling. Come and talk to me. I'm in a good. I'm up for it. Or it's kind of like, actually, I'm feeling a bit blue, maybe a bit beige at the moment. I like that because actually, it's really daunting when you're an introvert walking into a space like that and trying to capture trying to pinpoint the right people, I think, is really difficult, particularly when you're an international delegate at meetings like this, where, a lot, if we take Indianapolis as an example, you'll be going back there, reconnecting with friends, people who you know in the industry for many years, and that can also sometimes feel a bit like you're sort of interloping into a space that you don't belong. So actually, I really like that the ASAE's program is clearly making an effort to kind of bring new, first timers together. Having the social, for want of a better phrase, safe social spaces. I really like that. I really like that.
Well, Jay knows everyone, so he doesn't have
Well,
this type
exactly.
of.
He
I
doesn't
mean,
have
he's
that
the
head yet,
mayor.
does he? Exactly.
He's the mayor of the association ecosystem. Jay, any tips for introverts in managing your energy and meeting those new people?
So, I will say, take advantage of sort of low key, low pressure situations to meet people, right? Like sit down at lunch, talk to the people at your table. When you go to a session at the beginning or at the end, just introduce yourself to just one person. I think that's great. They've also gotten better about creating, Andrew used the term safe spaces, so I can't think of a better term right now, but like, they might have a quiet room or something like that where you can go and take advantage of that. So you don't have to be go, go, go 100% all the time. Like do it at the pace you can do it. But at the same time, like push yourself a little bit to meet people. I always think the person that has the answer to your question or your challenge could be the one sitting right next to you. And you just never know when that contact becomes a trusted peer or a lifelong friend, right? Like, but you're not going to know if you don't start the conversation.
Well, in conversations on the trade show floor, and trade shows are something really special that you get from these large conferences that you wouldn't get from smaller events, a state ASE or whatever else. When you're doing a trade show and with your partners and collaborators, you're at a booth, you're managing trade show real estate. How do you get the most as an attendee out of a huge trade show floor of tens of thousands of square feet? How do you take that on? And do you know anything about how they're organizing it this year?
Yeah. So, if you have the time, at least look through the list of exhibitors and pick out 5 or 10 that you definitely want to go see, right? There's so many things to get distracted with. But at the same time, it's okay to wander through and just see what strikes you, right? Like you don't have to have a long conversation with everybody, but at the same time, it's a great place to learn things. I always tell people, like, look, you are dealing with something in your association. Maybe you saw this same thing 5 years ago with that association or a different association. But these vendors, sometimes they're working with tens or maybe hundreds or more associations, and they're seeing certain trends. Pick their brains. Most of them know you're not going to become their client or their customer, but generally in this space, people are trying to be helpful. It's a helpful profession and they want to impart knowledge. I know that's what I try to do while I'm there. So yeah, have a little bit of a strategy, but also leave yourself time to wander and definitely go into the exhibit hall. This is part of what makes this such a great event in general is having all those vendors. My understanding, and I'm not 100% sure this is right, but in the past they've had a side that was like the travel and tourism CVB side, and then the other side which is more like technology and services for associations. I believe it's all mixed together this year, unless I'm confusing this with something happening next year, but I think it's all intertwined.
Good. So the drinks will be mixed into the floor because usually all the drinks and the good tchotchkes are on the CVB side.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to meet with, Louisville or, San Diego or wherever you want to go see for their giveaway items. But yeah, again, a lot of the other vendors are going to have good giveaways as well. So have those conversations.
Very good. Well, I very much look forward to it just to see other friends in the business. I always feel bad when I remind a vendor that, oh, sorry, I'm just a consultant, yeah, not a potential customer. But it is great conversations, and I do I do appreciate how much they've moved to the trade show floor. I know that there was the podcasting studio was on the trade show floor a couple years ago. They have that large lunch area. They're really making an effort to bring eyes and bodies and to the trade show. So I do enjoy it and hope everyone puts some time in there. But you mentioned going through and picking a couple you want. That's an app. I mean, you're doing that in the app now. Do you know how the app interface is going to be different from last time around, or anything about the annual app?
I haven't looked at the app yet. Everything I've been looking at has been through the website, for the conference. So that's the way I've been accessing information to this point. I have yet to either download the app or to use last year's app and get access to this year's information.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what, if any, what revisions or evolutions the app has made. The other big part of annual that I love is the parties. And it's a bit of a, I don't know, cool kids game. You kind of feel like you're on the outside when you're chasing party invites. Any advice, any early notice of the big parties, whose invites are out there, and how to get at least on the evening circuit?
Yeah. So first of all, the free night, if you will, at annual is always the Sunday night. So that's August 16th this year. And I know the one for Fontiva and ProTech is the Platform Power Party, PPP, and it's going to be at the NCAA Hall of Fame. It's a great venue. I talk about it in my guide, but that information's already out there. You can go ahead and register for that. And generally, I find that there are a lot of parties that overlap. So if you can get to two or three of them, that's great. I think some of the state SAEs have their own parties, or regional SAEs have their own parties. So it's just a matter of like sort of planning out when and where you can go. But I would look for that information on Collaborate. Pay a little extra attention to emails you're getting from vendors, because you will get invites to some of the events that way as well.
Andrew, any highlights from the Disney cruise that you want us to be jealous of while we're at parties? What will you be doing with your daughter and Disney?
Well, let me think. So she likes to go into the Disney Kids Club, which means I get to go to the adults deck, and I get to have my own party from basically, whenever I choose until late. So yeah, that'll be. However, I didn't realize there was this party scene was quite so big at ASAE. So you've piqued my interest. You've piqued my interest now for Charlotte next year. I'm thinking, okay, maybe my arm can be twisted more confidently.
Maybe we should have an association transformation party.
Well, when Jay was talking, I was thinking that. I was thinking, well, maybe we should next year.
Yeah, I mean, we may be up to episode, 200 at that point. Since we didn't get to do the 100 party, maybe we need to do a 200 party in Charlotte.
Easy. Let's do it.
Easy peasy, easy peasy. Well, I'm excited, Jay, to see you in person in Indianapolis.
Same.
And Andrew, excited to be back on the Association Transformation microphone with you, our little summer snack. Maybe we can have Jay back for a recap. Maybe a couple others that I see in Indianapolis. We can have a little panel of best takeaways and highlights from the event and bring it full circle.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. Third time's a charm. Hopefully there'll be fourth in the next few weeks, and safe travels to Indianapolis. Andrew, I hope you and your daughter have an amazing cruise. We will get back on our normal Association Transformation podcasting schedule in September. So everyone have a great rest of your August. Check out Jay's guide. It'll be in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you in Indianapolis if you will be there. Until next time, put your members and your mission first.